Wilbon. Welcome to PTI, boys
Mike.
and girls. In today's episode, the Titans fire Mike Vrabel. Ja Morant's out for the season, and Jeff Saturday joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with Michigan scoring 34 points, surprising people who thought Washington had the greater offense, and winning the national championship convincingly, 34-13. Michigan held Washington down. They rendered quarterback Michael Penix Jr. ineffective. Michigan dominated both the offensive and defensive lines. Wilbon, what did you make of the Michigan win?
It's a Michigan win. That's how Michigan's supposed to win the game. And this is Bo Schembechler football. You run the ball, you go for 170 or whatever it is in the first quarter. Power football. Washington's front seven could not handle Michigan in any way, shape, and form. Yes, Washington has the more spectacular offense, but by the way, Michigan's defense got after Penix enough that it hurt him early in the game, and he was off. And I don't know how much the pressure made him off, but that's Michigan football. That's Big Ten football. Is it as good year in, year out as SEC football? Sadly, as a Big Ten alum, I got to say no. But right now, this year, that's what Michigan's supposed to do. I don't want to see Michigan throwing the ball all around the yard. I realize Tom Brady is the most famous Michigan alum. Fine. That last night was Michigan football.
Yeah. This is far easier of a win than I ever imagined. They ran all over Washington. They had 303 rushing yards on 38 carries. That's 8 yards a carry. In a championship game against an unbeaten team, how did Washington get in this position? That looked like USC's defense. And on the other side, when Washington tried to run 46 yards in 20 carries, Michigan totally stuffed them. And Penix missed wide open people. He missed touchdowns out there. He threw for 255 yards, Mike, on 51 attempts. That's only 5 yards per attempt, and he had 2 interceptions. He was so much better than that all year. He threw for 430 yards against Texas. I wonder if that affects his draft stock in any way. I'm just overwhelmed with how much better Michigan last night, not every night, how much better Michigan was last night. I thought they made one mistake, Mike. I didn't understand why they ran on fourth down with 7 minutes to go in the first half. I didn't get it.
That.
I said to the television set, I said, no, punt it, pin them, make them go 90 yards, because when they got the touchdown after 50 yards, they were in the game. They were back in the game.
Washington somehow stayed in that game, so it was only a 7-point game even in the fourth quarter. So they stayed in it, but Michigan wore them down. By then, it is like the proverbial prize fight where you've hit somebody, body blows the whole game, the whole fight. They're hanging their heads by late in the fourth quarter, and they couldn't keep up. I feel bad for Penix, who was great all season, as you say, and wasn't last night. But congratulations. Congratulations to Michigan. See, I said something nice again. That just, so soft.
You're an angel
such a soft
today,
touch today.
Total angel. Everyone loves you.
After the game, Jim Harbaugh said, quote, "Someday when they throw dirt over the top of me, if somebody who was eulogizing me would simply say he was a Michigan man, that would mean everything," close quote. It's clear what the title means to Harbaugh, Tony. What does it mean for him?
Okay, well, if you found him to be an attractive hire 24 hours ago, he's a much more attractive hire right now. Because here is his resume. Okay, he is national college champion, and in the NFL, he coached in the Super Bowl. Who wouldn't want that? Now, maybe you don't want his personality. I understand that. But his resume is basically impeccable. He is no longer has to be tied to Michigan if he chooses not to be. If he wants to stay, he can stay. They're not going to get rid of him, even though they might feel a little bit awkward when he said, as he did last night, that we were innocent of all the sign-stealing stuff. Because the school made him miss 3 games, and the Big Ten made him miss 3 more games, and that kid Stallions left the team. But I digress on that. Jim Harbaugh, if he chooses to be, is totally open for business today.
And he should be. Why not? He's been great at both levels. He's been great in the pros, where he got to the championship game, conference title game 3 times, and a Super Bowl once in 4 years. And why wouldn't he be open for business? Let me go back to Michigan in general and why it means so much to Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh knows the entire history of the University of Michigan football program. He played there. I mean, he got to a Rose Bowl there. And he played for, Tony, as somebody who's a neighbor of the state of Michigan all my life. To me, Bo Schembechler, who's been to Michigan a number of times, Bo Schembechler is the greatest figure in the history of Michigan sports. All of it. I know people have won championships, the Isaiah Thomases, and I don't know if Al Kaline won one, but people have won championships in Michigan. They're not bigger than Bo Schembechler, and he never won, right. Tony. Michigan hadn't won an outright championship since 1948, and Jim Harbaugh wins this thing. Is he going to be bigger in lore ever than Bo Schembechler? I don't know, Mike. But he's earned it.
Mike, I am completely taken when the Harbaughs stand up there and they go, who's got it better than us? Nobody.
Yeah,
and today, that is true 100% of Jim Harbaugh.
Tony, Vrabel can do it. It seems like he's a favorite of the Kraft family. Seems like whatever reading you do, that has come up. And not just now that he's free, this has been coming up for weeks. So if Vrabel wants to do that, fine. There are going to be other jobs open out there. I mean, Atlanta's already open. Washington's already open. There could be openings elsewhere, and you don't know what relationships club executives have with a coach who's been around for a while as a player and a coach. So I'm not going to sit here and try to guess where Vrabel's going, but it sounds like New England is someplace he very well could wind up.
Yeah, I mean, Vrabel makes sense if the job is open. Is the job open? Has Bill Belichick left New England? Did something happen in the last 20 minutes that I am unaware of? No, the answer is no. Nothing matters until there is resolution with Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. And every single day we can do this story and talk about coaching, and it'll always lead over to Belichick. There's a report today that Josh McDaniels is considering coming back as offensive coordinator. He was very good at that, far better than he was as a head coach. And it is said that Bill Belichick really likes Josh McDaniels. So if you're Robert Kraft, do you want to sign on for that one more time, even without Tom Brady? I don't know. I was a little surprised, Mike, that Tennessee fired Vrabel. I mean, they looked really good beating Jacksonville, knocking them out of the playoffs. Derrick Henry said he was shocked. They were out of the playoffs again. Said he was shocked. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, I was surprised. Jeff Saturday in a beautiful tie. That is a great tie. Let me start with this.
You.
The Cleveland Browns are at Houston early on Saturday. Some might call that the Deshaun Watson Bowl. Veteran Joe Flacco quarterbacks one team. Rookie C.J. Stroud quarterbacks the other. How much do you think experience matters in a game like this?
Well, first of all, Happy New Year to you fellas. I hadn't seen y'all since the New Year. Glad to all be back. Excited to be back. And I will tell you, I think a lot of people are going to, be confused by the answer, a little bit shocked, I guess is a better word. I don't think experience makes that much difference. Now, does that mean I think Houston's going to walk in and beat the Browns? I do not. But here's why. I think the Browns can run some tight man coverage on the back end of their defense. I think that's where C.J. Stroud has shown a little bit of deficiency to a degree, right? That hasn't been his best performances. So I think it's much more in the X's and O's of how teams can set up against it. Also, you got to deal with Garrett, that defense at home, all of those things that happen for Myles Garrett and that defense going to Houston. Those guys got to play. Like, they got to establish the run at Houston. They got to do a lot of different things, but it ain't about experience. It's about what that talent does. I think either team, those guys can go out and play, but don't just label it experience. It's going to be how those teams perform.
Happy trails, Ja Morant. The Grizzlies star will have season-ending surgery to repair a tear in his right shoulder. He suffered the injury during a training session on Saturday. Morant was suspended for the first 25 games of the season for showing off a gun during an Instagram Live video. Without him, the Grizzlies went 6-19, but they've been 6-3 since his return, with Morant averaging 25 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists per game. In contrast, the Pacers got positive information on their star, Tyrese Halliburton, who left last night's win over the Celtics with a hamstring injury. Today's MRI revealed a grade 1 strain, and he will be reevaluated in 2 weeks.
Love Halliburton. Glad he's not seriously injured. Tony, Ja Morant's absence could benefit the Lakers and Warriors more than anybody, because Memphis is not going to be a factor. And that's going to open up at least a play-in spot, maybe a playoff spot. And the Warriors and Lakers, man, they are struggling to find any sunlight, any.
You know what, Mike? There are people out there like Zion Williamson and Mike Trout who are great individual talents, but you think to yourself, maybe they're star-crossed. Maybe they are. I think that about Ja Morant. I think maybe
so,
that
maybe
great
so.
window of opportunity is shrinking just a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah.
Let's go to the big finish.
do
Soccer
it.
great Franz Beckenbauer passed away at 78. How will you remember his career?
One of only 3 men to ever win a World Cup as a player and coach. And he won with the Cosmos 3 times with Pelé, Tony. I know you watched a lot of those games.
I did.
The Bucks lost to the Jazz at home. Their 4th loss in 5 games. Cause for concern in Milwaukee?
Yes, because Antetokounmpo is very, very upset. They've got a rookie coach, and that seat is getting really hot. Ole Miss star running back Quinshon Judkins committed to Ohio State. Is that significant?
Not necessarily. It's a kid transferring in every day. Running backs go here, go there. Who knows what it's going to be? It's just daily activity now. The Jaguars fired defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell and multiple assistants. What does that mean?
Means you can't lose 4 out of the last 5 or whatever they lost and get knocked out of the playoffs.
5
Somebody's
out of the last
got to
6.
go, and the head coach doesn't want it to be him. Last one, the Oilers won 7 straight. They're at you Blackhawks. How you feeling about this?
That's probably a 7-2 loss, something like that. The Blackhawks are bad without Bedard. Bedard's why we pay attention, and he ain't there for at least a week.
We're out of time. We will try and do better the next time. I am Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts for Blackhawks, Tony. It's going to be a rough road.